Hi, I'm TechCat Todd is what I call myself, and I appreciate you purchasing a subscription to TechCat Solutions. And this is just going to be a little walkthrough about how to use the remote desktop aspect of your subscription. And this one's for a Windows PC. There's a companion one that kind of does it on a Mac. Once you get used to the idea, it turns out to be very handy and productive, but it might be all mysterious at this point. So kind of from the top, make sure you know your RDP credentials. Even though you register for TechCats with like your @university.edu email, that's not your login to get into this remote computer, a computer that lives somewhere else. So I'm really beginning assuming that you've subscribed to TechCats. There's another help guide if you want some help for that. Visit TechCat Solutions and click on Help and go to this subscribing, and it describes how to subscribe in the first place. Assuming you've done that, you need to be able to get your credentials. Well, the way you look at, for the remote desktop, the way you look at them is via an email that gets sent from TechCats at, Tech Support at TechCat Solutions. So just putting in my email. If you don't have that email anymore, that email will have a link in it. The way to get that link sent to you again is to go to TechCat Solutions/access. Type in the email that you used to register, your .edu email. What will happen is it'll show your subscription, and if you have multiple subscriptions, it'll let you decide which subscription you want. But then you click on this email subscription activation, and it'll trend a little while it checks. And of course, when I practiced this earlier, it took 2 seconds, now it took 5 seconds. And so, kind of the mechanism is, since that want to be sure that that's you, it sends an email. Do check that it's from Tech Support at TechCat Solutions. That might get flushed down to spam or something like that. Log into or somehow get over to your email, and there, it's an email that looks like this. And what it has is a link, and as you might know from already registering, what I really key off of is this activation code that's unique to you. It tells me who you are and what subscription you're in and what the validation. But if you click on that link, there we are. If you click on that link, it's going to open up another window. We were in here. It's a little slow Wi-Fi where I'm working. But we started here, and now notice that the URL has this activation code. So it says, okay, I get it, and this is the stuff that we need then to get into to do the remote desktop. And in fact, if you remember all of this, you don't need to get here to get it anymore. What you need to get into a remote desktop is to know the DNS, the domain name system name, and that's VM1 TechCat Solutions :3389. Or we can probably get by with just VM1 and that's -1 TechCat Solutions. The 3389 talks about which port to use, and 3389 is standard for remote desktop. So if we leave it off, it's going to assume that port. But if you ever have problems, maybe just add the port number if you're having any trouble. And your login ID, and notice your login ID is probably going to be something very close to the first part of your email. So it's not going to be like your email at whatever. It's just going to be that first part when you log in. And it might help sometimes to prefix that with VM1 /. Okay? And you need to know your password if you haven't come in before, or you happen to have forgotten it. This is a little bit, do this when nobody's looking. I thought about sending you one in the email, yet another email. I said, no, we can do with this. But if you forgot it or you never had it, you can set it to something new, wait a little bit, and now the password's updated. Okay, I'm just going to clear that off, and I'll have to change it back because this thing is live. So now I know my 3 things. Maybe I'll leave it up there just in case I forget what it was. Write it down somewhere. And like I say, you can get to remote desktop just knowing these 3 things. Now on a Windows computer, if you just, one way to get in, so just be sure I have it, just kind of made notes so I wouldn't go far. So far we know our credentials. We know there's three things we need to know: our DNS, our login ID, and our password. Check. So how do you start remote desktop? Well, on a Windows computer, if you click the Start button and start typing remote, this is Windows 7 and after. If you're on Windows XP, God bless, give me a call. I can help out, but mostly you need to upgrade. But remote desktop connection is something that is built in to into Windows, and so you can just find it like that, search for it. The computer here that it needs, and you can see I've been practicing already, is that DNS name. This, minimize that for the moment, is this thing, vm1.techcatsolutions. You can put the colon 3389 if you want, and okay, but that's, you put your computer name in there, and you can click connect. And when you connect, kind of look closely at this. Now I've already just logged in, so it remembers that I am in trying to log into VM1 as VM1 T. Schultz. Sometimes when you're on like a campus computer or a work computer, or even your own computer, it's going to try to log into a different domain. So one thing to do, especially the first time you kind of come in, is say use another account, and just to be sure the first time, and this might not be needed, but if you do it, it really helps with I'm typing in my new PW with the casing right as the password. But if you prefix it with VM1 /, that kind of tells the computer that, oh, I understand where you want to go. And so it's connecting. And like I said, 2 minutes ago I walked through a demo and it took like 2 seconds for that to come up. You are going to get this little warning about the identity of the computer. It just is, it's kind of saying this computer called VM1 saying it's VM1. I talked to Microsoft about how to get rid of that, and their recommendation is don't. That they want you to understand that you are, kind of remoting into a, something that's in the cloud. This sounds bad, but it's really not. There just is no certificate, but certificating it really just complicated. You have to download something. So just get used to doing that. You can actually, and I don't check this because I do demos a lot and I want it to come up, so it'll be there in case somebody says, well, I got something that you didn't get. But on your own computer, you can click, don't ask me for connections to this computer, and that won't pop up anymore. Okay, so either way, but what you're going to want to do at the end of the day is say yes, connect, and then what happens is after a little bit, and your first time in, it might take a little while as it sets up your account, your screen changes, and now I'm in what's called a remote desktop. I'm going to go in and push up toward the top of the screen and window this. So what's happened is there's this application called Remote Desktop that's connecting to this computer that's in the cloud. It happens to be in a Microsoft data center in San Antonio, Texas. And what we have is it's a virtual login or remote login where we're this is our client computer, and we're just remoted in here. So it's a way to, and the benefit and what you're kind of paying for, what you're paying for is really the dollars it takes to run this virtual machine. Now I could go into details, and it's really not making money, about breaking even, but I found it so productive for students and helpful for instructors. That's kind of why we do it. So you can run this in a window. I always tend to like to, once I'm in, do it in full screen, just because then I can pretend that, gee, I'm up in that. And you can also just minimize it, in which case it lives down on the taskbar and you're back down at your remote desktop. So that really kind of covered at least one way to start remote desktop and connect with remote desktop. Show you a couple of other tricks in a second, but while we're here, let's do demo a little bit of working. What you find is, and depending on what you're in here for, you'll find tools like Visio and Access and Word and Excel, kind of the Office suite, extended with that. You'll find if you're a developer, Visual Studio Code and Editor. That next time you visit, there'll be SQL Server Management Studio to manage database. That's for the developer operations. probably, let's see, they may be interested in that. Anyway, these are the products that are available. I'm just going to take venerable old Word, and it's really like you're in a computer. So you work it just like you would any computer. To double click, and I'm also doing a little bit flaky there. Double click, and you're in, and you don't have to install this. See, that's the thing. What the benefit is, you didn't have to install Visio. And if you're on a Mac or something, you can install Visio. You can install a variation of Word, but this is my work for class or something. Great, and so type the thing. It's just as usual. When you go to save, you do have a folder. Now realize that this documents folder here is the documents up on the VM. We'll talk about how to get, well, what if I want it on my local computer, or I have to upload it to D2L or something like that. But yeah, I'm going to choose, and you can browse for it, but choose documents, and just call it classwork. It's going to be a Word document. And so now I've got this classwork, and it's a Word document. And if I come in, I'm still in the VM now, and come in and go to Documents, then there it is. One thing I like to do, and I'm going to do it now, is on the View tab, I like to see file name extensions. I don't trust it when I don't see the DOCX. I know it's telling me Microsoft Word over here, but I like seeing it there. It just didn't look right without it. That's a choice. See, this is your remote desktop. It is yours. You can configure it any way you want. What really happens is, if I look out here, whoops, back in the file system, the way Windows organizes itself is in the C folder, there's a users folder, and in the users folder, there's a folder there for every user, and so you can get access to yours. You can't get access to somebody else's, and so this folder called Documents that maps to Documents is just that thing there. So great, and that file will stay up in the VM till your subscription runs out, right? Then I'll do the VM. One question that comes up is, well, suppose I want a copy of this. I'll get back to it. Excuse me. Suppose I want a copy of this on my own computer for some reason. I want to archive a copy. Maybe it's one way to upload it to D2L, or I want to attach it to an email or something like that. Probably the easiest way is right-click on it. Say you want to copy it. Just kind of like a copy and paste. Kind of minimize this. Go somewhere. Now I'm down in the file system on my, this is on my laptop that I'm working from. And I'm just going to do it on the desktop there. I don't like putting stuff on the desktop personally, but if I paste it, there's that. And if I go and show the desktop, and look, there's classwork. Okay, now that's a copy. If I go back here and change stuff, it's not going to propagate those changes. So if you update this, you'll need to copy it down. All I did was make a separate copy. So you can copy and paste like that, and that's probably the easiest. There's some advanced ninja tricks where you can make the drives that are on your local computer available as drives up here. I think that's overkill, but contact TechCat Solutions. I'd be happy to show it to you. Just trying to keep it safe and simple. Another thought is, if you have to turn in something like for a course management system, like for a course, well, you have a good internet connection up in the remote VM. The first time you come in, you might get some things about whether to enable Skype. I also don't enable that. Oh, now it should work. There's the blank page. There it is. I put it in. I'm used to getting, I think you can set the browser configuration the way you want, but I put lms.augusta.edu, that's TechCat Todd's home institution, and so this is just like a computer that you can work with. I'm going to have to probably wake up Duo for this. This isn't knocking me out here. Pulling up the smartphone, logging in, getting do a mobile, so you get a code, and then once it remembers you, it remembers you for a while. It always seems to. When I'm in a hurry, I don't have my phone nearby, do that. But the point is, I can log in from this remote computer as easily as I can, and you can go to your course or whatever it happens to be, and upload that file. Just like you would anyway. I think there's a way I can. You as a student, I mean, just if you've never uploaded files, and this is D2L. If you're not at Augusta Edu, you probably have a different course management system that has some different things. But get into the assignments. Wait for it. This isn't anything particular to using a remote desktop. You'd have to do this on your own machine, but the fact is we're using, and probably this internet connection up on the remote desktop, and probably that's going to be a faster connection than your home one. We're using your home connection or wherever you're remoting from to manage the remote desktop session. This is actually going to send it to a faster line, but yeah, so then you go and you say upload. Well, you find it opened into documents. You can search around for it. So if I needed to turn something into D2L or a course management system or upload or do any kind of work in a browser, you can do it this way. Here it is. I don't know. Sometimes I ask for comments in my assignments. Most of the time I don't. And down here is the submit button. And you can add other files. I don't want this to be a lesson in D2L, but the file submission is successful. So I never did even get out of the remote desktop to do all that. Come on, I don't have to do that. I'd like to clean up the trail. All right, so gosh, I'm going to want to check my notes while I'm here. Let's make sure any beginning tricks are connected. You work just like you work anywhere. You save, how to download, uploading. Before I end, well, in the beginning to talk about ending remote desktop, let's suppose I'm working in this and I am right in the mid, and I was going to try middle of a sentence, okay? And suppose that our internet connection drops, okay, or the one that we're using, or I have to go somewhere and not go for very long. I can do, hit the power, the start button on the little power. I can disconnect, and disconnect leaves the session as it is, exactly as it is, with this unsaved, by the way, for about an hour before it will get closed. Okay. Another way to disconnect is I'm getting the just kind of shoving up to here to get the menu bar to come. If I just hit that X, it's saying it will be disconnected, and so okay. But the idea is, if I revisit remote desktop, within an hour, I set that. How long do we wait for connections? So I got to remember that password. So they jot it down and make it something that I can remote back in. I can remote back in from another computer or another device. So it because it's just connecting to the session, so I don't have to remote from my same one and we're getting this still. And again, if you click that box to the left, you won't see that again. And I am really right in the middle of where I left off. And so now I wouldn't. I'm having to complete the sentence just because I wouldn't count on, if you are going to disconnect, maybe be sure to save your work, because there is the chance that if an hour passes or something, or I need to restart the machine. The idea is if you leave your session just by a disconnect, then you're going to come back in an hour, or you saved what you need, and so you have to open it back up, but at least you didn't lose anything. So before you go that route, make sure you've saved things. Something I like better, it's a little cleaner, is if gee, I am done for now, okay, on this. Instead of going to the power button, go to the button that says who you are. And by the way, I've kind of indicated by the email that you registered with as your full name. If you sign out, that actually then ends the session and relieves all the memory that might have been allocated and just kind of frees up the resources up on the server, and now we're out of remote desktop. Kind of all of there, I want to maybe show another way that you can connect to remote desktop, especially if you're on this page. If you click on this download RDP connection, what that's going to do is you can store your login in a file, okay? And so if you click on that and click open, it's going to start up a remote desktop session. I should change the password, or notice it just says V.T. Schultz, which would work, but I'm going to fix that. So anyway, nothing that you need to do. And PW4VM. I didn't have to do remote desktop. I didn't have to tell it what computer. I don't know, I'm playing with this. Okay, so it's just like normal. Another way to get into remote desktop. Okay. And so I'm going to be a good boy and sign out rather than disconnect. It's my server, so I'll leave it a little cleaner. And I think that's pretty much the once through. And like I say, if you remember this stuff, you don't need to be on this access page to get it, but maybe the access page is the easiest way to remember it for you. So I leave that to you, and and of course questions track me down. Now there are times, and on our campus we have a secure internet and a guest internet. I'm not going to go through it, I don't think, because I don't want to lose my connection. But on our campus, as if you're on the guest internet, then it won't allow traffic through port 3389. So wherever you are, if it's not connecting, it spins, or it says it can't find the server, etc. Well, first of all, double check if you've typed it in or copied and pasted. That's exactly your DNS name, and it's either this or that, but not or simply blah. It doesn't want the whole sentence. And make sure you got it right with the dots and the dashes and everything. But if it's still just kind of trundling, you might check your connection. So what this does, it tests port 3389. And if we have reached this page on port 3389, it means port 3389 is open. Turns out if I got into the guest access here and tried this, it would say it can't reach it. I think it's spin or it's page not found, and that's an indication you'd have to do something to whatever, like your router if it's at home. I've seen some workplaces that don't let 3389 through. That's something you'll have to fix on the client end, or go to Starbucks and buy a coffee, and their internet works just fine. And I already talked about that domain when you're signing in. It's a little hard to repeat what that might look like, but it never hurts then if you're having problems getting the login. Go through the thing where you change the user. In Windows 10, I think you have to say additional options and change user, just to make sure that you're not sort of on our campus. We're in a domain that's Augusta Edu, and it's kind of carrying that information when we try to remote in. So just double check that, and once you've done it once or twice, then it gets convenient. I hope this has helped, but of course, TechCats.Solutions, and reach out for contact. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Take care.